Hi, welcome to the philosophy degree on Teachur. You can see a short, this is the degree, and you can see a short description here of the degree and a longer description here. And then here are the degree aims, and this will give you an idea of what the degree is after, what the aims of the degree are, what you should be learning. And then these are the courses of the degree that you'll go through. And I wanted to walk you through a little more on the courses and kind of the structure of the degree by looking at the courses. The philosophy degree is structured around kind of the big fields in philosophy, which are history, which is kind of seeing the development of ideas over time, and ethics, which is what is good, how should humans behave and why, epistemology, which is how do we know what we know, and then logic, which is kind of the field of how to form valid, sound, well-formed arguments and how to recognize ill-formed arguments or invalid arguments. And then metaphysics, which is what is reality, what is the ultimate reality. So those are kind of the overarching fields that the philosophy degree on Teachur will address, and really the kind of the fields that any philosophy degree would be organized around. So in the Introduction to Philosophy course, it's kind of an introduction to each of these different fields, kind of a brief overview outlining the main ideas, kind of the terrain of these different fields. And we'll also be reading some philosophical texts, so you get an idea of what to expect in the degree. And then in the history courses, History of Ancient Western Philosophy and History of Modern Western Philosophy, we'll be tracing ideas over time through a lot of different philosophers and seeing how one philosopher may be responding to another philosopher and what are kind of the big issues that they're wrestling with. And this is where we'll also naturally be talking about those other big ideas like metaphysics, ethics, epistemology as they arise over the course of history. And then our logic course will be focusing on what it means to make a well-formed sentence, a well-formed argument, a valid, sound argument. What are the rules of logic? What are logical fallacies that people make as they try to make arguments? Philosophical writing isn't treated as its own overarching field, but if you haven't done philosophical writing before, it's important that you get a handle on what are kind of the expectations and standards for philosophical writing. And this course really gets into how to read philosophical texts and how to write philosophical works. And then we explore a handful of philosophers. Currently we have Plato, Aristotle, Kant, and Nietzsche. As you may guess, it's a deeper dive into each of these philosophers, exploring a range of their works and kind of seeing what ideas they were wrestling with when they were writing. And then in the ethics course, we take a deep dive into ethics and we read works from a lot of different philosophers related to ethics and kind of see the development of ethics as a field over time. And then philosophy of education, same kind of idea. It's a deeper dive into philosophy of education where we'll be reading the works of a lot of different philosophers related to their thoughts on education. So that should give you an idea of the basic structure of the degree and a basic framework so you'll know what to expect, what's coming up, and how the degree is organized. We anticipate that this course listing, will be updated as we add more courses. So you'll have more options, or if you want to come back after you've finished your degree to learn about another field or another philosopher, we anticipate that we'll continually be building out these courses, these course offerings, and we'll have more. And the courses, if you open them up, they'll also have a similar short description, long description, and course goals. And if you're ever lost or not sure what you're supposed to do next or how the platform is functioning, you can always go back and watch one of the site tutorial videos that should get you up to speed. Okay, now to the philosophy degree. So why study philosophy? It's a good question. And I would say this degree, you'll be engaging some of the most influential texts ever written. I think of that scene in The Princess Bride where the character says, well, you know, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, morons. That we kind of look to these philosophers as luminaries in academic learning. So you'll be not only reading, but really engaging some of the most influential texts ever written. And you'll be joining the table of these significant conversations that have spanned millennia, really. And you won't just read important texts, you'll be responding to them, challenging them, restating them, and building on them. Philosophy also, the degree will give you an opportunity to see the development of ideas over time. You'll be able to look at the world with a little more distance. Probably better than any other degree, philosophy prepares you to analyze and critique the world. This doesn't mean that you're always looking for the bad, just that you can look at the world in different ways and avoid just being swept up in how things work today. So you're in a better position to question things like, why does our government work the way it does? Why do our schools work the way they do? What counts as evidence in different settings, say a courtroom versus a church? And philosophy, I would also say, breeds or cultivates some of the best readers. If you can read philosophy texts and kind of get fluent at reading philosophy texts, you can read anything. Most any other reading will feel quite easy compared to philosophy texts. And also for writing, philosophy majors learn to write clearly and compellingly, I would say probably more than any other degree. And philosophy majors, this degree will help you to learn to analyze and criticize arguments, regardless of where they come from, and to be able to spot faulty arguments or faulty logic wherever you confront those. And really get to know in depth some of the works of some of the luminaries in the field, and also to explore different fields or disciplines in philosophy, such as ethics, philosophy of language, philosophy of education, metaphysics, and logic, and get a good handle on those fields. In terms of what to expect, I would say there's a lot of reading dense texts. So these are texts that you'll probably need to read through them a few times in order to really get a handle on them. You should also expect to do a lot of writing. Responding to these dense texts is a big effort in its own right. So writing for philosophy also requires, like any good writing, requires several drafts. Philosophy kind of has a reputation of abstract, difficult texts, and for sure it has its share, but it also has its share of some really thrilling, literally world-changing ideas. And you'll learn that some philosophers that you'll be reading are real characters, and their writing will blow you away. Quality reading and quality writing take time. Don't be surprised by this. Embrace this and know that we'll have a support network if you get frustrated, and know that while reading philosophy texts and writing philosophy papers will never be a 5 to 10 minute ordeal, you do improve as you read and write more. And being a good reader and writer are important and valuable in their own right today. we hope you love the degree. We've worked really hard to make it what it is, and we'll continue to improve it. We have a lot of great works, a lot of great resources that we have organized and curated, and we're always working to improve it and to improve your experience. So please let us know what you really appreciate. If there are any aspects that are confusing or frustrating, also absolutely let us know. We want to make this a great experience. Thank you so much.